Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 17th August 2020, and these are the articles we will be dealing today. The first article for the day is taken from the Indian Express and it is titled Getting Agri Markets Right. So as a part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat package, the government has announced a 1 lakh crore fund. It is called the Agricultural Infra Fund. One of the major problem with Indian agriculture is the lack of storage facilities for small farmers. So the government wanted to handle this problem. They wanted to create storage infrastructure for the agricultural produce, so that the agricultural produce is not spoiled in short term because of the absence of any such infrastructure. So this was supposed to give an impetus for even agricultural trade and also put more money into the hands of the farmers, especially the small and marginal farmers. In order to empower the small and marginal farmers, the nodal agency for implementing this particular agricultural infrastructure fund and the channel through which this fund passes are farmer produce organizations, which majorly comprises of small and marginal farmers. However, it doesn't mean that only these farmers can avail the loans. Even individual entrepreneurs who are interested in agricultural business can also use this fund. Now let us have a look at the various issues with this fund. What are the problems in agriculture with respect to infra and storage facilities? But before getting into that, we have to understand some of the ordinances that this government came up with to improve the situation of agricultural sector. Even before the pandemic has struck our world, India's objective with respect to agriculture was doubling farmers' income by 2022. So in order to move in that direction, the government has deregularized all kinds of controls on agricultural trade. So as a part of this process, it has moved three ordinances. The first one is Essential Commodities Act. Previously, there was a restriction imposed on agricultural items in order to ensure that the price rise is not affecting availability and affordability to the common public. That has been removed right now. And secondly, agricultural produce marketing committees are the nodal agencies through which agricultural produce was procured by the people in the market. The problem with this APMC Act in the state level is the fact that there were a lot of middlemen and there was no price discovery for the farmers. So this was affecting their objective of doubling farmers' income by 2022, and therefore they have announced that they will also allow the farmers to sell their produce outside the APMC mandis. The third one is contract farming. For example, if a if Lays wants to procure potatoes from the market, it would be very volatile market. So in order to avoid that, with the kind of specification that Lays requires for its potato chips production, it can enter into a contract with a few farmers. So that is contract farming. So the government wants to encourage this trend of contract farming. So this has been the marketing side of agriculture. But before it gets into the market, one of the most important thing is proper storage. Storage happens between right after the production and just before it enters the market. So this article talks about the possibilities of improving cash availability during this storage itself, because a lot of small farmers don't have the kind of money to store them in storage for a lot of time. For example, a lot of farmers in UP, Bihar, etc. store their potatoes, tomatoes and onions for a very long time in cold storages. Since they have very deep pockets, these large farmers can afford to store the potato in cold storages for as long as 9 months. Now that would not be possible in the normal scenario for smaller farmers, and it would be even more difficult in the present times considering the pandemic. So what should the government do? In order to create this farmer produce organization, the government gave the responsibility to NABARD. So NABARD was given the responsibility to create as many as 10,000 farmer produce organizations. So these are like companies which would have small and marginal farmers and give them a ability to bargain collectively. Now, when it comes to storage, one of the biggest problem is as they store their produce in storage facilities, they would require that storage to be cleared as soon as possible because they require working capital. Now, here in this context, we have to understand that using negotiable warehouse receipts as a tool to provide them this working capital is an idea that is worth exploring. Now, negotiable warehouse receipt, the concept goes something like this. If a farmer deposits his produce in a storage facility, he gets a receipt in return which he can trade in a commodity market. That will give him immediate returns, and the person who wants to procure that at a future point of time can show that receipt and take it. That is how negotiable warehouse receipt works. The second idea that is worth exploring is agri futures. So when we are talking about futures is a concept where two parties enter into a contract that they will procure a product at a particular price. If the item goes above the price, the seller has to still sell his produce at the price that was agreed before. However, if the price falls below the market level, the buyer will still have an option to buy it from the market or from the person that he entered into a contract with. That is how most of the future contracts are written. So this idea is also to be explored by our agricultural farming produce organizations, which requires immense skill building and also at the same time financial awareness. It is here that state agencies like Food Corporation of India and State Trading Corporation or NAFED, all these agencies should take the active role in leading the futures market, and slowly the private sector would also continue. The third area that we have to focus on is banks that give loans to these farmer produce organizations and traders should participate in the commodity futures. Now, how do they do that? Banks can play the role of reinsurers. That is, they can raise money as an insurance policy if the futures trade falls below a particular level and the market expectations are tumbled in the future. At a particular trigger point, this insurance will be given by banks, and they can also ensure price stability because of these mechanisms. So in that way, the author is proposing that we have to use the spot markets as well as the futures markets to ensure that the dream of doubling farmers' income becomes a reality. Otherwise, it would be very difficult. The second article for the day is taken from the Live Mint and it is titled Healthcare Efficiency at the Cost of Privacy. So in the 15th August Independence Day speech, our Prime Minister has announced that every citizen of this country will get a national ID with respect to his healthcare. Now this is an idea that is worth exploring because India does not have a formidable public healthcare data. Now this article talks about the problems of having a healthcare database and the issues that commonly pop up whenever we are talking about data, that is privacy. So how do we address this issue of privacy, and what should be the problem? What are the various facets of the problem? That is the focus of this article. So in the context of COVID, National Digital Health Mission was amongst the highlights that Prime Minister Narendra Modi Independence Day speech focused upon. So it was expected to become a sort of a revolution to the country's healthcare. He said that laying out the benefits of a digital ID for everyone would mean that the country's infrastructure would be coming onto a single platform, whether it is the private or the public. Every detail will only be a few clicks away or few swipes away, as he quoted it, if we are taking into consideration the smartphone technology. So this also gives us the idea that telemedicine also has a future in our country because of the severe lack of resources that we have at this moment. So the government also wants to include private sector going down the line to ensure that new technologies are encouraged to ensure better delivery of healthcare services. So this has come at a good time because we have learned from the experience of COVID that there is definitely a need for experience when it comes to technology, and also there is definitely a need to involve the private sector in our healthcare needs in the short term. So to that extent, this scheme is very good. But however, there are two caveats. It is meant to be voluntary, not coercive, and its confidentiality is said to be assured. Here comes the problem. How do you ensure security? Especially given the fact that this government is encouraging the private sector to use the same database, what is the guarantee that this healthcare data is not manipulated to sell selective products and increase the cost of healthcare? So all the arguments against the creation of such database were also true in the case of Aadhaar as well. If Aadhaar, Arogya Setu, etc. have security concerns, even the National Digital Health Mission database will also have similar problems. So the author says that within the data protection framework, it should have a comprehensive clause to deal with this issue of National Digital Health Mission as well. There should be no ambiguity on the core principles, and therefore if there is any legislation that is coming out, healthcare for all should not be achieved at the cost of one's privacy. That is the conclusion of this article. That's it for the day. Thank you.